The twin suns hung low in the orange sky as the crowded market buzzed with noise and color. On the edge of the colony world Valorant 3, people moved through narrow streets filled with small stalls. Cheap tech, dry fruits, and fried meats. The smell of spices mixed with the sharp scent of burning fuel from the old transport ships nearby. Marcus Hale, tall human with short black hair and a hard face, stood behind his food stall. He was a former soldier, now just a man trying to live quietly. His stall was simple bowls of rice stew, flatbread, and small meat rolls, cooked with pepper oil. Nothing fancy, but cheap and filling. His customers were mostly poor workers, aliens from nearby slums, and lost travelers. Marcus didn't talk much. He served food, took credits, and minded his own business. That's how he liked it. But that day, someone unusual caught his eye. Across the market, between shadows and blinking neon lights, stood a thin, alien woman, wrapped in a torn brown cloak. She had long fingers, grayish skin with soft violet lines down her face, and large black eyes filled with worry. Her kind, the Yllari were, known to be soft-spoken, peaceful, and shy. They once lived on a green world before it was ruined by a mining accident. Marcus watched her carefully. She didn't approach his stall. She stayed near the wall, watching the food like a hungry animal, unsure if it should run or fight. He kept working. But he noticed her move a little closer each minute. Her eyes never left the food. She looked around. The crowd thinned. Marcus bent down to grab a water bottle from the crate below. When he looked up, she was suddenly right in front of him, reaching out a fast, shaking hand grabbed a small food pack from his table. But before Marcus could even open his mouth, the woman's legs gave out. She fell to the ground with a soft gasp, the food pack slipping from her fingers. Her cloak shifted, and Marcus saw her thin ribs and bruised arms. Her lips trembled. "Please," she whispered, her voice broken and weak. "Please, my child is hungry." Then she collapsed completely. The market around them didn't stop. Some people glanced over. A few slowed, but no one helped. A couple of humans muttered rude things and walked away. Marcus stared at her for a moment. His jaw tightened. He bent down and gently lifted her into his arms. She was shockingly light, like carrying a sack of bones wrapped in paper. Her skin was warm but dry, dehydrated. The other stall owners stared. "What are you doing, Hale?" One of them asked. "Let security deal with her. She tried to steal from you." Another said, "You're just encouraging them." Marcus didn't answer. He only gave them a look, a cold, sharp look that made them turn away. He closed his stall, locking the food and supplies. Then he carried the alien woman through the back alleys of the market to his small living unit, barely 2 rooms made of old steel panels and recycled wood. Inside, he placed her on his cot, took out clean water, a few soft meal cubes, and a thin blanket. He warmed some stew and placed the bowl near her mouth. The woman didn't wake for hours. Marcus sat nearby, arms crossed, just watching her breathe. When she finally opened her eyes, it was night outside. The city was quieter. Red lights blinked. From towers in the distance, the alien woman sat up suddenly, afraid, clutching the blanket. "You're safe," Marcus said simply. "You're in my home." She looked around, her eyes wide. "Why? Why did you help me? You fainted in my stall." "Tried to steal," she whispered. "You should have let them take me." Marcus didn't reply. He pointed to the bowl of stew. "Eat," he said. "You look like you haven't in days." Tears formed in her eyes as she leaned forward and took a bite. She swallowed slowly, as if her body had forgotten how. "My name is Celia," she said softly. "I didn't. Want to steal? I didn't know what else to do. You said you had a child." "Oh," she nodded quickly. "His name is Teru. He's only 5. He's sick. He hasn't eaten in 3 days. Where is he?" "In a cargo crate behind the old shipyard." "I didn't want to leave him, but I had no choice." Marcus stood. "Show me." The night was cold and windy. They moved quietly through broken alleys and across metal bridges over old pipelines. Celia led Marcus behind the shipyard, past rusting engines and empty containers. She stopped in front of a small gray crate with a flickering red light on its door. Inside, lying on a pile of old cloth, was a small Yalari child. His eyes were shut, and he barely moved. His breathing was shallow. Marcus knelt and checked his pulse. Still alive, but weak. Very weak. "We were promised shelter," Celia whispered, tears in her voice. "But the camp closed. They said only registered refugees could get help. We had no registration," I begged. Marcus gently lifted the boy into his arms. He didn't speak. Celia followed in silence, wiping her eyes as they walked back through the darkness. Back at his home, Riquettes gave the child water mixed with soft nutrients. Taru opened his eyes briefly and gave a soft, painful smile. Marcus made space for the boy to rest. He added more food to the stove and gave Celia a dry cloth to clean herself. She moved slowly, grateful but unsure. "Why are you doing this?" she asked again. "You don't even know us." Marcus looked at her for a long moment. "I've seen children starve before," he said quietly. "Once is enough." Celia lowered her head, her hands shaking. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know how to repay you. Just get better. Keep your son alive." Outside, the city kept buzzing, unaware of the quiet kindness happening in a forgotten corner. But change had already begun. The morning sun rose slowly over the slums of Valran 3, casting long shadows between metal homes and broken buildings. The wind carried the smell of dust, oil, and something warm Marcus Hale's cooking. Inside his small home, a pot of stew boiled quietly. Marcus stirred it, glancing over his shoulder every now and then. Celia, the Yalari woman, sat near the wall, holding her child Taru in her arms. The boy was wrapped in a blanket and slept deeply, his face pale but peaceful. He had eaten a small meal the night before. Now his body rested. Celia hadn't slept. Her large black eyes were open, watching everything. Fear still lived in her heart. "Is he breathing okay?" Marcus asked, voice low. She nodded. "Better than yesterday. The warm food helped. So did the water." "Thank you." Marcus didn't reply, just handed her a small bowl. "You need to eat too." She hesitated, then took it with both hands. Her fingers shook. "You really don't know us?" she said again. "Why are you doing this?" "I told you," Marcus said, sitting down across from her. "I've seen children starve. Once was enough." As they ate, Celia began to speak. "I was born on Alara 7, she said. Green world with rivers and tall trees. My people were farmers. Peaceful. We never had armies. What happened? The mining corporations came. They said there was a rare mineral under our forests. They started drilling. At first we tried to live around it. Then the waste started poisoning the soil and the water." Marcus nodded slowly. He had heard similar stories. Big companies taking what they wanted, small planets paying the price. "We protested," she continued, "but we had no weapons. The corporations told the Galactic Council that we were being uncooperative. Then one day there was an explosion, a gas leak. Hundreds died. My husband was one of them." Her voice cracked. "The council called it an accident. Paid. The corporations, instead of helping us, said we were too few to resettle, so we ran." She looked down at Taru. "We've been running ever since." Marcus didn't ask more questions. He had seen enough war to understand pain and silence. He stood and checked his cupboard. Supplies were low. He had enough food for one more day, maybe two if he skipped his own meals. "I'll have to open the stall again today," he said. "Need to earn some credits." Celia looked worried. "Should I leave?" "No, you're not strong enough yet. The boy isn't either. Stay here. Lock the door if anyone knocks." "I'll clean while you're gone," she offered quickly. "And cook, if you leave anything." Marcus just nodded and grabbed his coat. Back in the market, things felt different. Some of the nearby vendors looked at Marcus with narrowed eyes. A few whispered when he passed. One old man spat near his boots. Marcus ignored them. He opened his stall, lit the burners, and began cooking. The smell of pepper oil and steamed rice drew a few customers at first, but not as many as before. A fat human trader leaned in and said, You feeding aliens now, Hale? You know what people are saying? I don't care what they're saying, Marcus said, not looking up. The man snorted. They say you're hiding a thief. A Yellery. That true? Marcus didn't answer. He kept working. Soon a few more people came, took food, and left. But some avoided his stall completely. Word had spread. Still, Marcus made enough to buy bread, vegetables, and 2 small meat packs before closing. When he returned home, Celia had cleaned the floor, washed the dishes, and set the blankets neatly. Taru was sitting up, weak but awake. He smiled when he saw Marcus. You're back, the boy said softly. Marcus smiled back. Yeah, brought some food too. Celia bowed her head. I'll cook, Marcus handed Taru a soft toy from a street vendor. It was old but still clean. The boy held it tight. Later that night, Celia spoke again. You'll get in trouble for helping us. I've been in worse trouble, Marcus said simply. The people here, they don't. Like my kind, don't like anyone different. Celia looked down. We'll leave soon. I don't want you to lose your home. Marcus was quiet for a moment. I was a soldier once, he said, in a war far from here. My unit was sent to guard a refugee camp. One winter, the food trucks stopped coming. People started dying. Celia listened quietly. There was a boy there, Marcus said, his eyes far away. About Taru's age, I gave him my rations. But one day I was sent on patrol. When I came back, he was gone. Starved. I never forgot his face. He looked at her. I couldn't save him. But maybe I can save your son. Tears ran down Celia's cheeks. She said nothing, just sat beside him quietly. The next few days passed slowly. Celia and Taru began to look better. Their skin was less pale. Their movements were stronger. Taru started smiling more, even laughed once when Marcus burned the stew, but the market grew colder. Some vendors stopped speaking to Marcus. One human woman shouted at him for taking food from their own kind. Another threw a piece of trash at his stall. Marcus didn't respond. He kept working. Then, one evening, a man in a dark coat approached his stall. You, Marcus Hale, yes. Work with the sector security force. We've had reports of a Yellery thief hiding near here. You seen anything? Marcus kept his face still. No. The man narrowed his eyes. You sure? I don't report starving mothers. The agent smirked. You think helping them makes you better? No, Marcus said. Just human. The agent walked away, but Marcus knew trouble was coming. That night, he sat with Celia and Taru. The lights were dim. Outside, a patrol ship flew past. They're watching now, Marcus said. Celia nodded. Then we should go. Marcus looked at her. Do you want to run forever? She was silent. There are others like you, Marcus. Said I've seen them in the slums. Scared, hungry, abandoned. Celia whispered, the council says they don't exist. He stood and looked out the window. What if we did something different? He said. What if we made a place where no one went hungry? Celia blinked. Just the two of us? No, Marcus said. We start small. Feed 1, then 10, then maybe 100. One warm meal at a time. Taru looked up. Can I help? Marcus smiled. Yes, soldier, you can. Outside, the colony was still harsh, still broken. But inside Marcus's small home, something new had started. Not just survival, hope. The days passed slowly, but things were starting to change. Inside Marcus Hale's small home, life felt warmer. Celia cooked better meals now. Taru, her son, could walk around without falling. He even laughed when Marcus taught him how to fold paper into animal shapes. But outside, the city was watching. The market vendors spoke in whispers. Humans gave cold stares. Some aliens avoided Marcus's food stall. His earnings dropped, and more often, no one stood in line. Still, Marcus showed up every morning. He lit his burners, served his stew, and smiled at every hungry face. One early morning, a small group of alien children stood near his stall. They didn't come close. They only watched the food with quiet, hollow eyes. Marcus pretended not to see them. He filled 3 small boxes with hot food, walked over, placed them near the corner. "You didn't see me," he said, and walked back. The children rushed forward as soon as he turned his back. Celia had seen it from behind a cloth curtain at the edge of the stall. She smiled softly, her heart full of something she hadn't felt in a long time, peace. But peace didn't last long. 3 days later, a group of peacekeepers in black armor came into the market. Their boots were heavy, their eyes were cold. Stopped at Marcus's stall. "You Marcus Hale?" the lead officer asked. "I am. We received reports of a Yalari criminal in this area, said to be hiding here. You've seen her?" Marcus didn't blink. "I don't report starving people," the officer smirked. That wasn't the question. Marcus crossed his arms. "No one's stolen from me since I opened this stall. Not until a woman collapsed from hunger. She didn't take anything." "You see where she went?" "No, I helped her stand, gave her food. That's it." The peacekeepers looked around the stall, then turned to leave as they walked away. One officer muttered loud enough for Marcus to hear, "Aliens get kindness. Humans get nothing." "Figures," Marcus said nothing. But his hands curled into fists. That night Celia looked nervous. "They came asking about me, didn't they?" she said. Marcus nodded. "Yes, but I didn't tell them anything." Celia looked down. "They'll come back. They always do," Marcus said. "But we won't hide anymore. You'll get arrested, or worse, maybe," he said. "But I'm not afraid of them." The next day, Marcus made a decision. He used the last of his credits to buy extra ingredients. With Celia's help, he cooked a large pot of soup. She made fresh bread. Taru helped pack small containers with spoons. When the food was ready, Marcus left a sign beside the stall. "Free meals for the hungry. Not questions asked." Many people stared at the sign. Some laughed, some cursed under their breath. Human woman threw an empty cup at his feet. But others came. A tired alien miner. An old human with broken shoes. A pregnant woman with 3 small children. One by one, accepted the food with quiet thanks. Later that evening, a familiar face approached the stall. It was Bryn, a former soldier who had fought beside Marcus years ago. He was older now, with a metal leg and a long scar across his cheek. "What are you doing, Marcus?" Bryn asked. "Feeding aliens for free? You'll bring the whole sector down on you." "They're not just aliens," Marcus said. "Hungry, so are humans. I feed them too." Bryn looked at the line of mixed faces waiting quietly for food. "You always had a soft spot," he said. "No," Marcus replied. "I just remember what it felt like when nobody cared." Bryn grunted. "You keep doing this, you'll be labeled a sympathizer, K-trader. Then let them label me." Bryn gave him a long look, then nodded once. "You ever need backup? You call me." 2 nights later, trouble finally arrived. It started with a knock on the door. Marcus opened it slowly. Outside stood a man in a sharp suit, flanked by 2 peacekeepers. "Marcus Hale?" the man asked. "Yes. My name is Director Relin, local agent of the Galactic Peacekeeping Authority. We've been watching your activities." "Feeding people," Marcus said. "Harboring fugitives," Relin corrected. "Breaking council rules, ignoring refugee control zones." Marcus didn't step aside. "I've broken no law. Just helped a mother and child who were dying. They're not registered, not protected." "The council has already closed their case." "Then the council is wrong." Relin's eyes narrowed. "You've caused unrest. People are talking. Protests have started. You're lighting fires." "Sometimes fire is needed," Marcus said. Relin gave a cold smile. "We'll see how long you burn." He turned and left, leaving the warning behind like a bad smell. Marcus knew time was running out. That night, contacted Bryn. Then he sent secret messages to 3 other people he once trusted. Old soldiers, medics, smugglers. "Need help, not weapons. Just food, meds, shelter." The message read by morning. Responses came back. "I've got access to medicine. We'll send tomorrow. I know a safe route for refugees. Quiet and clean. You stubborn fool." "I'm in." Celia watched. It all with wide eyes. "You're starting something big," she whispered. Maybe, Marcus said, but I'm not doing it alone. The next market day, Marcus's stall had grown. More tables. More pots. More food. Behind him stood Bryn, arms crossed, watching everyone. Nearby, Celia handed out bread to hungry children. Taru played with them, laughing. Some people cheered, some cursed. Some called him a fool, but more came. They didn't care if the food came from a human or alien. They were just hungry, and Marcus fed them. Later that night, as Marcus cleaned up, someone ran to him from the shadows. It was a teenage girl, Lalian, thin and scared. "They're coming," she said. 10 of them, peacekeepers armed. "They're coming for the LRI. Woman." Marcus's face grew hard. He turned to Celia. "Take Taru. Get to the old storage tunnels. Bryn will go with you." "What about you?" she asked. "I'll stall them. No, come with us. If I run, they'll chase." "Stay. You escape." Celia held his hand tightly. "Don't die, Marcus." He gave her a small smile. "Not today." Minutes later, peacekeepers stormed his home. They found Marcus sitting calmly at the table, a warm bowl of soup in front of him. "Where is the Yalari?" the officer barked. "Gone," Marcus said. "You helped her escape." "I helped a mother save her son." The officer raised his weapon. "You're under arrest." Marcus leaned back and said clearly, "To anyone listening, this is what the council does. They punish kindness. They fear compassion." Unknown to the officers, a small camera hidden in the wall broadcasted every word to a local network. The people saw everything. The air was thick with tension. Outside Marcus Hale's small home, heavy footsteps echoed against the metal walls. The peacekeepers had come again, this time with more soldiers and better weapons. Inside, Marcus stood by the window, watching the dark shapes moving in the street. He knew they were here to take Celia and Taru, but he would not let that happen. He looked around the small room. It was bare, but it held everything he cared about: the small bed where Taru had slept, the worn table where Celia cooked, the little toys Marcus had made for the boy. He picked up a small metal box from the shelf. Inside were simple traps and gadgets he had made during his soldier days: smoke bombs, noisemakers, small electric wires. Marcus checked his weapon, a worn plasma pistol. It had seen many battles, but today it would be used for one last fight. The door burst open. A group of peacekeepers stormed inside. Their leader, a tall man with a cold face, raised his hand. "Marcus Hale, you are under arrest for harboring fugitives and breaking galactic law." Marcus stepped forward. "I am protecting a mother and her child. I will not let you take them." The peacekeepers moved closer, weapons ready. Suddenly Marcus triggered the first trap. A cloud of thick smoke filled the room. Choking and blinding the soldiers, he heard shouts and confusion. Using the cover, Marcus grabbed Celia and Taru. "Come with me," he said urgently. They slipped out a back window into the narrow alleys. Behind the house, outside, the city was a maze of dark streets and broken buildings. Marcus led them through secret paths only he knew. Behind them, the peacekeepers struggled to follow through the smoke. But Marcus had prepared well. Electric wires hung low across narrow alleys, sparking when touched. Noisemakers went off with loud bangs. Other traps slowed the soldiers down. Bryn and 2 others, Marcus's old friends, waited ahead. They quickly joined Marcus's small group. "We'll hold them here," Bryn said grimly. "You get them to safety." Marcus nodded. "Go." The group moved fast through the city's underbelly. Celia held Taru close. The boy was weak, but awake. As they ran, Celia whispered, "Thank you, Marcus. You saved us." Marcus smiled tiredly. One deserves to die hungry. Bryn stayed behind, taking position with the others. They faced the peacekeepers in the narrow street. The soldiers were angry and determined. But Bryn's group was ready. Using old tactics, they fought smart. Smoke grenades, quick strikes, traps made the peacekeepers retreat. Bryn radioed Marcus. "We've slowed them down. You're clear." Hours later, Marcus and his small group reached a hidden warehouse on the edge of the city. It was quiet and safe. Celia sat down, holding Taru, who now smiled weakly. Marcus leaned against a wall, exhausted. We can't stay here long. They'll search everywhere. We need help, Celia said. More food, medicine, a real place to live. Marcus thought hard. I've sent messages to friend soldiers, medics, smugglers. They're ready to help. Looked at Celia. This is just the start. Back in the city, the peacekeepers regrouped. Their leader was furious. We must find Marcus Hale. He's become a symbol of defiance. One officer spoke quietly. His words on the broadcast, people are talking. They support him. The leader growled. Then we must stop him before it spreads. Meanwhile, Marcus took a small device from his pocket. It was linked to a local broadcast channel. He cleared his throat. This is Marcus Hale. I stand for those who have no voice. For mothers and children who suffer in silence. For those the Galactic Council forgets. His words echoed through the colony's nets. People across the city stopped. They listened. Some were angry, some hopeful, but many were inspired. In the days that followed, small groups began gathering near Marcus's safe house. Humans and aliens came, bringing food, clothes, and medicine. One woman brought fresh vegetables. A man gave old blankets. Slowly a community formed. Celia smiled, tears in her eyes. You have started something beautiful. Marcus looked around at the faces hungry no more. We will keep fighting, he said. For every child who needs a warm meal, the Galactic Council sent more peacekeepers. But the people would no longer hide their support. Voices rose in protest. Messages of hope and courage spread. Marcus Hale was no longer alone. Months passed on Valorant 3. In the small corner of the colony where Marcus Hale had started his fight for the hungry grew into something unexpected. Community. The once forgotten slums now had a place where anyone could come to eat, rest, and find hope. Marcus sat quietly by a fire outside the new shelter. The walls were made from old shipping crates, painted with bright colors. Children laughed nearby, chasing each other with wooden sticks. Aliens and humans shared food and stories. Celia stood close by, her son Taru playing in the dirt building. Little towers, Marcus smiled. He felt tired but proud. The first time he had met Celia, she was a shadow, weak and desperate. Now, she was strong. Her eyes held light again. Taru was no longer pale or sickly. He ran, played, and even learned to speak simple words in the human language. One afternoon, a message arrived from an unknown Sendera video. Celia pressed play. That it showed a large group of refugees being moved through secret tunnels, led by humans and aliens working together. The voice on the screen said, "The Hale Network helps those who have no home. Join us. Together, we can feed every hungry child in the galaxy." Marcus felt a chill. The name Hale Network was already spreading beyond Valorant 3. But not everyone was happy. The Galactic Council saw Marcus and his network as a threat to their control. They sent more peacekeepers, more warnings. One day, Marcus received a warning message: "Stop your work or face consequences." He read it aloud to Celia and Bryn. "We won't stop," Marcus said firmly. "We're giving hope, not harm." Celia nodded. "They fear what we represent," Bryn added. "We fight not with weapons, but with kindness." The community grew stronger. Other colonies began copying Marcus's idea. Small kitchens opened on distant worlds. People shared food and shelter quietly, without waiting for the council's permission. The message was clear: no child should ever go hungry. One night, Marcus stood on a small stage in the shelter's center. The crowd was silent. Everyone waited for him to speak. He looked at Celia and Taru, then out at the faces humans Yalari and others. This started with a simple act: a human feeding a hungry mother and her child, Marcus said. "We showed the galaxy what it means to care." The crowd cheered. "But this is only the beginning," he continued. "We will not stop until every child has a meal and every family has a home." Across the stars in the cold halls of the Galactic Council, voices debated. Some wanted to crush the Hale Network. Others wondered if maybe, just maybe, this was the change they needed back on Valorant 3. Marcus walked with Celia and Taru under the twin suns. Your child is growing strong, Marcus said, smiling. Celia smiled back. Because of you, you saved his life. Marcus looked at the sky. We saved each other. And so, the seeds of change spread. Planted by a human who refused to turn away, a human who fed a hungry mother, and in doing so, fed hope to a galaxy.